We're creating environments where writing behaviors can happen. Writing is looking for a place to happen. All we need to do as teachers is set up a structure, inspire, ignite that writing to move forth. So what are the things that are true about writing instruction? What are the things that really make a difference and that I should be spending time on my classroom and not let testing or exercises push this kind of writing out of my classroom so that they'll be successful on any task that comes before them, whether they're writing a brochure or a test essay or any kind of blog or anything else. What are the things that make writing work? And let's explore those. I was really excited to start working on this book, 10 Things Every Writer Needs to Know, several years ago, because what I really wanted to do was take some of the work I had been doing with making grammar and editing instruction inviting and show how you can use those same things to make text structure inviting, that you could teach form without teaching formula, that just because something is tested in a certain way doesn't mean that's the best way to teach it so that I'm successful on that test. And I think we're so afraid sometimes of these tests and these standards and benchmarks that we forget about what works best in instruction, what works best for kids. And I really wanted to explore that idea in a book where we're taking the larger part of writing, not just the sentence level, and we kind of zoomed it back to the paragraph level and looking at all the possibilities of what writing can do rather than all the limitations sometimes that it gets set in. So that if kids really naturally, innately want to express themselves, that now we have a place where we're creating an environment where kids can perform those writing behaviors. What does every writer need to know? Well, one of the things that I found to be most important was this idea of working with models. The Writing Next research talks a lot about this, but I love this Mason Cooley quote: "Art begins in imitation and ends in innovation." And because that's not, when we do imitation, it's not to keep us there, it's to take us to the next space. It's to scaffold us and then go to the next level. And how do we get kids to do that? You know, and we think about the Writing Next research. The Writing Next research was really clear about what worked in terms of the study of models. You read, you analyze, and you emulate. Yeah, we have all this idea about using mentor text. It's almost ubiquitous at this point. But you don't just put a great text in front of a kid and get the most bang for your buck. What you do is you put that text in front of the kids and you have them notice, pay attention, almost apply a scientific method of observation on that text. What's the writer doing? How is the writer organizing that information? What kinds of things do you see, notice, wonder about? How is he communicating his ideas or her ideas? And if you don't have that interaction with the mentor text, then you don't get the benefit. Now, beyond reading and analyzing or interacting, then you also have to emulate and test it out, try it out, like in the scientific method. You do experimentation, and you see where that takes you. And as Mason Cooley reminds us, it takes you to that next place where you can really innovate with your own ideas. So, what is the scientific method? First, we know you observe, you question, you hypothesize, you test, you conclude. Well, I like to line that same thing up with the scientific method of the study of models. So the very first thing you have to do is you have to observe the text, or notice. What do you notice? What do you see? And in that interaction, you start to question, what's that author doing? And that kind of nature. How is that writer putting this information together? What details is this writer using? Why do you think? Whatever that interaction is. Because as Betty Garner says in Getting to Got It, if kids are not actively processing information, then they're not learning it. It's not sticking, it's not staying. And we know that in today's classroom. So there's that important part. And then the hypothesis is the way in which we make a goal to try out, to name what this is. You know, is it a serial comma? Is it compare and contrast? Is it a problem solution, you know, kind of structure that we want to use? And then we try it out with our own thoughts. Maybe in a small way to start off with, in a bite-sized, digestible chunk. And then once we've done that, then we think about how else are we going to use this in our writing, and how else do writers use that? And what the beautiful thing is once we've paid attention to text in a different way, then every text we encounter teaches us something new, because we pay attention to it in a new way. So I do think the scientific method of looking at models is really important, because it's not only developing those observational skills, which are such a crucial part of our cognitive structures, it also scaffolds what real writers do. Real writers read, they see authors doing cool things, and they think they want to try out something like that. All we're doing is creating a process for those writing behaviors to take place in your classroom. And I mean, and that's the backbone of writing process and writer's workshop, isn't it? It's to do what real writers do. So we're creating a space in the 10 things every writer needs to know, where kids get to behave like writers.